As a business owner, I think it's really important to understand what are the pros and cons of different options you have available within your finance team, especially from a leadership perspective. So first, let's look at an internal CFO and the pros that you could have for an internal CFO. The first one is they're there all the time. They don't have any other clients. They don't have any other distractions. They are there focused purely on your business. So that goes without saying, is that there's going to be insights and time that they're going to invest into things is going to be far greater than someone who's on an outsourced or an external way of doing things. So they can put daily focus into your business. The second one is they can push people. So one of the downsides, and you'll see this in the cons in a moment, one of the downsides of an outsourced CFO or the tax accountant is that it's really easy if you're trying to push something into your business, especially with, dare I say it, lower level team members. It's a lot easier for them to smile and agree when they're with you, and then as soon as you leave, go back and do the opposite to what way they were doing things. So if you're an internal CFO, you can call that out on an ongoing basis. And yes, that sounds a little bit like babysitting and hand-holding, but that degree of accountability is just that much better when you have an internal CFO there. The third element is you can get an industry superstar. The industry you're in, whether it's construction, wholesale, manufacturing, or even more specific than that, you can get someone with 10, 20, 30 years experience working for a competitor and bringing that information across or knowledge across to your business. So you can get someone who is absolutely elite in your industry. So that's a key element there. And the final element is size. Just practically, at a certain point in your business's growth and evolution and growth journey, it's just more practical to have an internal CFO there all the time because of the workload. So they're the pros in terms of having an internal CFO. Some of the cons, firstly, they can get lazy. I've seen circumstances where if you're somewhere for a long period of time, they can get lazy because from an outsourced CFO or from a tax accountant perspective, they're consultants, they're advisors. You can tell them not to come in tomorrow and never come back again, and there's no ramification for that. Whereas with an internal CFO, that's an employee, and the law is in such a way that it's not so easy as just hiring and firing people. So that's one of the downsides. The second one is also just the pure workload as well. So do you have enough workload for a high level individual? And when I say high level in terms of cost, enough workload, or are you risking that there's going to be certain tasks being completed at a lower level by somebody who is very expensive? So that's a question you've got to ask around the workload. And the last one is similar theme, just the cost itself. I think an entry level for a CFO these days is 150 grand, and depending on when you're watching this video, it might be, double that at some point in the future. But it's not going to be a cheap investment. And when you hear the C-suite type of team member, those things don't come cheap. So there's the cost element there. So as you can see, lots of pros, but also there's some cons.